All right, welcome. If you're new to the channel, my name is Elliot and you're watching Rickety Ski Reviews. Today, it's early season. What are some tips for people skiing early season? Now, there's snow already in a basin. I saw a couple of vlogs where people are already skiing. That's great. I personally think let them have it. I have no urge to be the first person on snow. And here's why. I've spent years chasing being the first person on the chair. I did a lot at Burke Mountain up in Vermont. I've done it a lot out here in Idaho, going to Sun Valley, going to extremes. And it usually kind of sucks. It's usually really expensive, really crowded, and not very good skiing. If you've ever seen video of like the East Coast, places like Bretton Woods, things like that, where they just have one strip of snow and 1,000 people trying to ski on that one little aisle of snow. I don't know. I have zero interest in that. My big tip for you is that if you are someone who's really excited about skiing, the best time of the year to ski is like February, when everyone just kind of forgets about it after Christmas. The skiing in December and like last year, November was really good. It was kind of an anomaly. It was really great skiing, but don't burn yourself out. Don't kind of rush out to be on skis super early because it usually isn't that good. But with winter on the horizon or at the front door, let's talk about the handful of things you can do to have your ski stuff ready now so that you're not scrambling once you actually do have good winter conditions. So the first thing, take your necky and wash it, for the love of God. You've probably got like 3 of these in your backpack somewhere. Go wash it. Wash all of your ski clothing that you can, like all of your base layers, everything that is constantly touching your skin or on your face. They smell bad, your socks. Go wash them in extra time and have them ready to go. But these neckies, especially, you're breathing on them all the time. I don't use these for more than like 1 or 2 days a week before I go and wash them. They get really gross. The next tip is to actually have your rock skis ready. That means you can wax them. If you wax them over the summer, you can scrape them, brush them, have them ready, but have your rock skis ready. Don't be so excited to be on snow that you go and take your brand new skis out. I've got my Mavericks that only have a few days on them. I am so excited to ski on those, but the conditions aren't going to be very good. There's going to be a ton of rocks. It's going to be easy to get course shots. The beginning of the season and the end of the season are the times of the year where you can do the most damage to your skis. Have your rock skis ready. Also, how do you know when to throw away a pair of skis? Well, I always make sure that when I'm owning skis that I'm actually buying my next pair before these go to 0% are totally trashed, for a couple of reasons. One, it allows you flexibility. You can buy your new skis in the off season when they're nearly half the price. But the other reason is so that you have a pair of half decent rock skis that you can still take and not worry about what's going to happen to these. I took these to Sun Valley last year in the spring where there's kind of some rocks if you went off trail, and I wasn't worried about it. I could touch every part of the mountain, hit any line I wanted, and I didn't have to stress about it. So what I would say is when your skis have about 30, 40, anywhere from 25 to 40% left of their life, go out and get whatever skis you want next, and then you'll have some good rock skis that are still safe to ski on, but you can be relaxed when you're skiing on these, because I've got a few course shots. I put P-Tex on them several times, but I can just go out and have fun on these, and I'm not gonna be worried about damaging them. I know that they're on the end of their life, and I can just enjoy skiing on them. Don't get so hung up on like, oh, I've got these new skis, I have to go ski on them. Save them for later. Save them for January, end of December, February. There's plenty of winter, and actually it'll be less crowded when you get into those months. Have these rock skis ready. You'll enjoy your late season a lot more than most people. As far as knowing when to get rid of these, I would say once it becomes just tedious to repair them. That's kind of my barometer for it. Essentially, if I'm putting a ton of work into P-Texing them every time and the edges are starting to come apart from the base, when I'm just having problem after problem, that's when it's time to either get rid of them completely, or if they still have a little bit of life, bring them to the ski swap. I mean, I'll hang on to these probably for another year or two and just use them a few times a year in the early season and late season. Seriously, having a pair of rock skis will help my other skis last a lot longer. The biggest thing that I look for is if the bases are starting to detach from the rest of the ski, if the edges start to separate or break, if I have course shots that didn't get treated, that water was exposed to them, and the ski starts to swell up and separate, that's an indicator that they're gone. But for me, when I get damages on these, I have a little stick of P-Tex I bought for $3. You take a lighter, melt it on there, you're good to go. Maybe I'll make a video on that later. You can make a lot of repairs and get a lot more mileage out of your rock skis. But yeah, once I miss some P-Tex course shots and they start to swell up, or critical parts of the ski like the base or the edge start to detach, that's when I'll say farewell to these. The other thing you want to do if your skis are quite old is go to your local shop, get your bindings tested. Make sure that they still will release properly, that the din is still holding properly. You don't want to mess around with old bindings. It's just not worth it. It's not worth losing your life over something silly like that. If you are on the fence about whether or not your bindings are going to be adequate or if they're kind of on the older side, just go get them tested. It doesn't cost a lot of money and you can make sure that they're safe. These bindings are still new enough that I think that they're okay, but if they were older, like if these were some of my old race skis, I would absolutely bring them into the shop and get them tested. On a side note, you can see this binding, it doesn't have the plastic cover. It doesn't really do anything other than kind of hold the numbers on. I just do them at the same time and I can tell what the din is. The next thing you want to check is your dins. Make sure that they're set properly. Sometimes they can kind of be reset or people will, you know, lower them down for the summer. You just want to make sure that your dins are where you think they are. It's a pretty easy step, but important nonetheless. The next thing I will do is I have kids, so we tend to lose these a lot, but I will go on Amazon and buy these cheap ski straps. They are really important. It's a pain in the butt when you don't have them. Just go spend $6, get yourself 8 different ski straps or whatever it costs, and be ready for the winter so that you can just have everything loaded and ready to go. The next thing I do is I'll schedule my car to get the snow tires on in November typically. Just depends on the year. The car that I have has studded tires, so I have to be a little bit more careful with my timing. But if you live in somewhere that gets heavy snow, start thinking about that now because there's nothing worse than missing out on a ski day because you're waiting in line for your snow tires. Small thing, but just a reminder for you guys, it might be worth doing. The next thing I start doing, and I've already got mine ready to go, I get my trailer hitch rack for my skis ready to go so that I can just load it. I don't have to dig it out of somewhere. Seriously, it can take so much time. Luckily, mine's just a trailer hitch rack and I use my bike rack in the summer, and so it's easy to just swap it out with the ski one. But something you may not have thought of, make sure your rack and however you're gonna transport the skis is ready to go. In some cases too, that can mean that you have to make sure you have all the components and pins, that it's tightened up. Depends on what kind of system you're using, but get that figured out now rather than dealing with it in the winter. There is nothing worse than messing with those little toolie box screws when it's freezing cold out. Do it now while it's still kind of warm. The next thing that's really important, especially if you forgot to do it at the end of last season, take your ski boots apart. Make sure that there's no moisture in the shell. What happens is ice and water gets inside the shell and then the liner kind of keeps it trapped in there, and these things will reek if you do that. Take the liner out now, make sure that it's all nice and dry. You can take a paper towel through it, clean it out if you can, and then make sure the liners are finally getting dry. If they've been staying like that all summer, they're gonna be gross. So here's a tip that I do. I take a fabric softener, I put it inside of my boot liner, put it on like an air vent or something like that, just somewhere with good airflow, and my God, clean these out. If you didn't already, this is, you know, a little too late, but better late than never. There is nothing worse than having squishy ski boots on the first day that reek. If your ski boots smell, there's probably a reason. Get the moisture out of them, use a fabric softener. This seems like common sense, but my God, people's boots get gross. You know, they haven't been thinking about skiing, they've been thinking about summer. I do this for my kids' boots. It honestly saves lives. Maybe not saves lives, but super effective. And lastly, I'll take my Nonrock skis and I'll just make sure that they're ready to go. Once I'm kind of within a week or two of thinking I'm gonna ski on them, I got these wax for the summer, so there's extra wax to kind of keep everything from rusting out or to kind of keep the bases from drying out. Now is a pretty good time to start thinking about scraping this off. I'll probably wait another week or two, just depends on where you live. If you live in Colorado, maybe start doing it now. Just start scraping it out and brushing it out before you wanna go. If you're really lazy, you could probably just scrape them and then ski off the rest of the wax. Or if you're really, really lazy and you don't mind kind of trudging through for a couple runs, just, you know, ski the wax off. I guess you could do that. But start thinking about having your primary daily drivers ready to go. This fabric softener trick also works really well for gloves. Seriously, think about putting them in your mittens or gloves because they get so gross throughout the year. I use half pipe gloves a lot and those are really easy to wash, so it's not as big of a deal. Seriously, put one in your bag for God's sake. Just help get your stuff smelling nice now so you don't have just nasty stuff once it comes wintertime. There's nothing worse than that feeling of like, oh my God, do my gloves reek? Oh my God, do my boots reek? It's like if you smell it today, somebody else smelled it yesterday. And the last one, this seems super obvious, but make sure that you know where your pass is. Right now, a lot of the passes use the RFID and you just scan it through the little TSA looking thing, but make sure you know where it is, okay? It's not like every year where you go and get a new pass anymore. In some places, it's not like how it used to be where you just get a new pass every time. Go and make sure you know where that thing is. And if you need to go get your pass, go do it now. As soon as it starts snowing, everybody's gonna be waiting in line. Try to avoid that if you can. For a lot of you, this is gonna be very redundant. You already know all of this, but maybe it's a friendly reminder before it gets too close to Christmas and everybody is scrambling to do this. And lastly, my biggest advice, honestly, is just don't worry about being the first one on the hill. Right now, everybody is scrambling to be the first one on snow. Oh, I just can't wait anymore. Oh, a basin is open. I'm gonna drive over there. And I know like there's some content creators that are doing that because that's part of their job and I get it. The early season skiing doesn't even tend to be that good. Honestly, it's like okay, it's usually overcrowded, there's not that much snow, you end up doing more damage to your skis than anything. What I would say is just be ready for the rest of the year. If you can get on snow, that's awesome, but don't get this fear of missing out that you're gonna get from social media where, oh, we're at a basin, we're doing all this cool stuff. Yeah, it's cool that skiing is opened, but really this isn't gonna be the best part of the year. And the best part of the year is every year, always January, February, March. Honestly, there's no getting around that. Like last year we had the longest season, we had the best November, December that we've ever had, but don't stress about it. It's not the end of the world if you're not on snow right now. Just wait, be patient, get your stuff ready now, and be ready for December and January to really enjoy it. That's my free advice. I know it's really cool everyone's skiing in November or skiing before Thanksgiving or even skiing before Halloween, gosh, but it never ends up being that great. So anyway, that's my early season advice. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this content, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps my channel out a lot. Other than that, just thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. See ya.